FIFA built a machine, years of work, tons of money. The goal? And every argument in football forever. No more robbed teams, no more hand of God, no more injustice sneaking past the ref's eyes. Just cold, clean machine truth. Here's the twist nobody saw coming. This machine became FIFA's worst nightmare. It's caused more anger, more heartbreak, more cheating accusations than any human ref ever did. The real villain of this World Cup isn't a person, it's a system. Let's break down how VAR, built to save football, became the biggest controversy of all. Iran had 3 goals wiped out by VAR, one for a toe being offside, on a goal that would have sent them through. Senegal's World Cup ended on a penalty called for barely any contact. Egypt, 2 goals up and dreaming, lost the goal for a foul nearly 100 yards away. Then watched the penalty appeal go unchecked right before Argentina's winner. Their coach put it simply, what's happening isn't fair. Switzerland had Briel Embolo sent off in the quarterfinal after VAR turned a yellow card for an Argentine into a red for the Swiss player. Even BBC's own experts questioned the call. Swiss defender Manuel Akanji, nearly in tears, said he'd never seen a game so one-sided. Same scene over and over. Pure joy, then a ref walking to a screen, then heartbreak. Celebrations killed before they even started. This is exactly why it's FIFA's nightmare, one they built themselves. The whole point of this tech, the reason Infantino pushed it so hard, was to make the World Cup untouchable, to silence every critic, to let a machine give verdicts so clean nobody could argue. Instead, they built the tournament's biggest villain, a system that's usually right and universally hated, a system that ends legendary careers over a hair and knockout runs over a toenail, a system that's convinced half the planet the game is rigged against them and given the other half a reason to mock every rival's goal. FIFA reached for perfection and proved perfection is the enemy of the sport. Football was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be human. It's not just goals getting erased. Players are getting sent off too. Red cards tripled compared to 2018 and 2022, with 13 shown before the quarterfinals. At least 2, involving Balogun and England's Jarell Quansah, came from fouls refs missed live, only caught after slow-motion replay. That's the trap of slow motion. Almost anything looks brutal frame by frame. Speed gives context. VAR strips that context away, then asks ref to judge a frozen image like that's how the game was really played. This gets at something deeper. VAR is quietly killing what makes football football. Christina Unkel, a former FIFA ref, said it best. Football is art, messy, subjective, human. That's the whole point. But chasing machine-perfect calls is sanding all that away, hunting for toenail offsides and hair-thin fouls nobody actually wants. As U.S. defender Chris Richards said, look close enough at anything and you'll find something wrong. That's exactly the issue. Zoom in enough on any goal, any tackle, and you'll always find the technicality. A game where no celebration is safe until a computer approves it is a game losing its soul. One expert put it simply, fans are booing with their feet. Nobody asked them if they wanted this, they just got it, and they hate it. Here's where it turns dangerous for FIFA. Worse than boredom, worse than anger. Because VAR is so inconsistent game to game, it's bred full conspiracy. When it reaches back 100 yards to cancel one goal, but ignores an obvious angle for another team, people stop trusting it. When it sends off the Swiss player just minutes after Switzerland tied the game, the whole internet decides it's rigged. That's not random. That's what happens when nobody can predict the system. Modric's line, depending on the size of the team, is now the accusation hanging over this whole tournament. Egypt filed a formal complaint. England's manager Thomas Tuchel called the officiating erratic and unreliable. And the biggest scandal of the summer, the Balogun red card that pulled in a call from the US president, came straight from a VAR decision. A system built to kill doubt has created more doubt than football has ever seen. Look at Argentina. It's the clearest example of how VAR destroys trust. The disallowed Egypt goal, Embolo's red card, Messi avoiding a card for a studs-up tackle nearly identical to Balogun's. Any one of those alone you could explain away. Line them all up, all favoring one team, and you get why people are asking real questions, not just joking online. Nobody's saying it's proven. The point is, a fair, trusted system would never let that question grow. VAR was supposed to erase suspicion. Instead, it built a machine that makes more of it. Game after game, grudge after grudge, until every fan thinks the screen is against them. This is exactly why it's FIFA's nightmare, one they built themselves. The whole point of this tech, the reason Infantino pushed it so hard, was to make the World Cup untouchable, to silence every critic, to let a machine give verdicts so clean nobody could argue. Instead, they built the tournament's biggest villain, a system that's usually right and universally hated, a system that ends legendary careers over a hair and knockout runs over a toenail, a system that's convinced half the planet the game is rigged against them and given the other half a reason to mock every rival's goal. FIFA reached for perfection and proved perfection is the enemy of the sport. Football was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be human. To get how wrong this went, remember why VAR was created. 9 years ago, the job was simple. Catch the huge mistakes, the game-changing errors refs just couldn't see. It came from disasters like Maradona's Hand of God in 1986. Mark Geiger, one of the men who built VAR, summed it up in 5 words: minimum interference, maximum benefit. Hold on to that phrase. It haunts this whole tournament. VAR was never meant to re-referee the game. It was a safety net. Quiet, only there for disasters. The real question was never, is this right? It was, is this clearly, obviously wrong? Now look what it turned into. For this World Cup, FIFA didn't pull VAR back, they pushed it further. Referee chief Pierluigi Collina added 4 brand new areas VAR could jump into. And the numbers are wild, around 20 VAR step-ins during the whole 2018 World Cup, under 30 in Qatar in 2022. This tournament blew past 100 before the quarterfinals even started. That's 1 overturned call every 2 games, more than any past World Cup, more than a full club season. Red cards more than tripled from 2018 and 2022. The safety net didn't grow, it took over the whole game. Minimum interference became maximum interference. And the benefit? That's where it all falls apart. It's not just how often VAR steps in, it's what that does to watching the game. Football runs on momentum. The goal, the roar, the release. VAR kills all of that. Croatia's disallowed goal took over 2.5 minutes to overturn. 2.5 minutes of a nation celebrating, then crushed. It's the same scene again and again. Players standing around, sweating, waiting, a ref jogging to a screen, vanishing into replay for what feels like forever. Players don't know if they're celebrating or defending. Fans don't know if they're singing or sitting. The rhythm that makes football great gets flicked on and off like a broken light. FIFA isn't sorry. Collina defended the worst calls head-on. He said there's no limit on how far back a foul can go to wipe out a goal. A foul is a foul, no matter how tiny. That's FIFA staring at the wreckage and calling it perfect. And that's the whole problem right there. Here's what all that perfection actually caused. Picture Croatia versus Portugal, round of 32. Deep into stoppage time, the last kick of their tournament. Croatia scored a wild equalizer. A whole nation exploded. Then, over 2 minutes later, a screen took it away. Not for a rough tackle, not for a shove. A player's hair had brushed the ball, just barely, and that put a teammate offside. No human eye could catch it, but a sensor inside the ball did. Croatia was out. Luka Modric's 24-year career ended not on a loss, but on a strand of hair caught by a computer. Modric didn't stay quiet. He said VAR is used wrong, or used differently depending on the size of the team. His own federation wrote to FIFA and called it an abuse of technology. Let that sink in. A federation that supports VAR called this abuse. And Croatia isn't alone. They're just the saddest story on a long, long list. Uncle and other officials have an answer. Give refs back the power to look at a technically correct call and say, no, not the spirit of the game. Play on. Let common sense beat the computer. Whether FIFA has the humility to do that is a whole different question. And worth noting, when asked to explain any of this, FIFA said nothing. 9 years ago, the promise was minimum interference, maximum benefit. This summer, we got the total opposite, maximum interference. A tournament where the biggest story isn't a goal, or a save, or a flash of genius. It's a man in a room in Dallas, watching a replay, deciding if the thing you just celebrated is even allowed to count. That was never the plan, but it's exactly what football has become. Has VAR ruined this World Cup for you, or do you miss the old chaos of human error? Honestly, I'm torn, so drop your take below. And stick around because the semifinals are coming, and that screen in Dallas isn't done with us yet.